My name is Shawn Robert Johnson, and I spent 19 years in prison because of one decision. This course I designed called Saving Souls is not to impress anybody. It's to share my testimony as well as others to encourage people to make better decisions so that they do not end up in the same situation that I was in. The only reason that I am here is because God blessed me with an opportunity that most people do not get. I filed a clemency, and the former governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, granted my clemency, and he removed the last 41 years off of my 60-year sentence. If it was not for him doing that, I would still currently be in prison right now. No matter the lies that people told, I will still be in prison. So I'm just thankful, and I just want to continue to encourage people to make the best decisions as possible. So Saving Souls, I created it. As you can see right here, it says your life, your choices, your future. It's simple as that. It's your life, it's your choices, and it's your future of what you want to do. And if I can impart my lived experience on anyone to help them make the changes that they need to make, then, I'm just grateful for that. Just want to save souls one at a time. So, as you can see, it says one decision can change your life forever. Make it the one that moves you forward. You want to constantly make the best decision that's going to move you forward. And this is why I created this program. So 19 years in prison. As I said, spent 19 years, and now I'm using my story to save others. I'm teaching real consequences and real choices, and I'm helping the next generation choose a better path. It's hard to put it in words sometimes because of the blessing that I received, because I was incarcerated at Trenton State. That's New Jersey State Prison in Trenton. And over 95% of people do not ever make it out of that prison. For context purposes of prison period, over 95% of people don't make it out of prison that have long-term sentences, whether you are sentenced to 40, 50, 60, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years, life, double life, triple life, uh, life without parole, whatever the case may be. Most people, unfortunately, do not get the opportunity to have a second chance at life. So I want to use my story to save others because I feel that it's impactful to, impart my experience to just help others just make a better decision and better choices, right? And I'm teaching real consequences and real choices because what people don't realize, the smallest choices that we make can lead to long-term consequences. You may not think that now, but it can lead to long-term consequences. And I don't only want to just, help those in my age group or older, younger, but we definitely gotta be impactful to the next generation to come, because if we don't set the example from our lived experiences, then they're just going to follow down the same path that we follow down and ultimately, potentially end up in the same type of situation. And we just want to try to keep the kids from ending up in the same situation. So this is why I do this for. All right, so here we go. Bad decisions don't look bad at first. Right? One, most mistakes feel normal at the time. Two, the consequences don't show up right away. And three, one small choice can change your whole future. Right? Most mistakes feel normal at the time. That is true because of the environments that we come from. We come from environments that, when we make the mistakes and we make certain choices, it's normal. It's normalized because so many people did it before us. So when we do it, It's like, man, that's just regular. It's not regular. It's not regular because those small mistakes that we make, subconsciously, we don't understand that it's preparing us to make greater mistakes and decisions that's going to contribute to us ending up being in prison. And that's not what we want. That's not what we want. So we don't have to, scrutinize anybody for making mistakes, but also let's not normalize it for people making small mistakes because if we can teach people better, younger, older, then people will be able to do better. But also a person got to be willing to want it themselves more so than anything, right? And as I said, number two, the consequences don't show up right away. When you first get into the streets, you might catch little petty charges here and there. You might get probation. You might get a slap on the wrist. You might go to the youth house if you're younger. You might go to a residential program. You might get fined. If you're older than 18, you might go to the county and get ROR, right? The consequences don't show up right away. It's like small misdemeanors that you catch along the way. And I say that from experience because growing up, I used to do that at times. I catch a little simple assault charge here for a fight. I would catch a weapons charge there for carrying a pocket knife or something. And these things slowly started contributing to, me ending up being in the streets before I went to prison for the 19 years. And I didn't realize it at the time because, as I said in one, it felt normal because everybody else was doing it. I just happened to get caught at times. But the consequences don't show up right away. They show up along the line, and then when you least expect it, everything is going to hit you at once. And we say number three, one small choice can change your whole future. That's a fact. It's like you don't understand the different type of people that I encountered during my 19 years in prison. And it's not just about me because I have encountered someone who actually got into a regular fist fight. And the person that he was fighting fell and hit his head and died. He ended up getting like 50, 60 years in prison because of a regular fight, which we would think is normal. We got to learn to take the high road. And I know sometimes it's easier said than done. Our pride gets in the way a lot. And that's what it ultimately comes down to. But we have to be willing to do better. And if we are willing to do better, put our pride to the side, we can slowly make them changes. Every decision has consequences. Like I just said that. Everything leads somewhere. One decision can cause years you can't get back. The choices you make today shape what you become tomorrow, right? And that is so true. Everything leads to somewhere. It's like you have to look at it from this standpoint. Every choice that you make is connected in some type of way that's going to lead to somewhere in life, whether that's negative or that's positive. For example, my my choice of entering the streets was to make money because, you know, my family didn't have money. So while that was my decision and my choice, right, it ended up leading somewhere else and for me to get into other things in the streets that I wasn't anticipating. So yes, I went out there to sell drugs at a young age only to making money. Well, then that leads to, people trying to rob you, people trying to do other things, which leads you to get into other things. So everything leads somewhere. And one decision can cost you years you can't get back. As I said, and I say this over and over again, the choice I made, even though I acted in self-defense, it cost me 19 years of my life. And I'm just grateful and blessed that I'm here today because I still had 41 years left to do. And if it wasn't for the blessing of the governor commuting my sentence, I would not be here. So that one decision, even though by law it said I was right, even though I felt that it was right, it still cost me so many years. Because what happens is you get people that start lying, people trying to change the narrative, and that ends up, causing so many other things that happen in these cases. And the choices you make today shape who you become tomorrow. One of the quotes that stuck with me of many that I read when I was in prison was this: if you want to understand your present conditions, look at your past actions. And if you want to have a better future, then change your present actions. So when you look at where you are today, the conditions that you face, you have to link it to your past actions. So to me, when I was in prison, I had to link that to past actions. Yes, I wasn't just super terrible person, but I made choices along the way that contributed to being in the streets, what contributed to me ended up being in the situation I was in. And like I said, whether you look at it from a standpoint like, okay, self-defense, he defended his life, but it still costed somebody else's theirs, and I still lost 19 years of mine being in prison, right? And then it says the second part, if you want to see your future, to understand your present actions. So while I was in prison, that's when the change really started happening while I was in that prison, which led me to the future of me being blessed to be home right now. And that's only by the grace of God. So, talk about how it starts small: who you hang with, what you entertain, what you ignore. This is key. This is key because who you hang with can determine what type of choices you make. And I'm not saying that you got to shun your friends. I'm not saying that you got to cut your friends off completely, but in some cases you do. You know who you're around that is trying to influence you to do things that you really don't want to do. They always say, right, the cliche, a birds of a feather flock together. So sometimes you are just guilty by association and you're just collateral damage in who you hang with. In the streets, you can hang with certain people. Your guys get into some type of beef, some type of war, and you could end up being collateral damage and getting involved in something that you didn't know about because of who you link with, right? So you have to be mindful of who you hang with. If you want to grow, if you want to be better in life, if you want to do better in life, yes, you still can have your friends. You can still have your day ones. But it comes a point in time that if they don't want to grow and elevate themselves and become better men and women, then you have to love them from afar. You have to be willing to, separate yourself and distance yourself from people that's going to keep you stagnant. You want to change, you want to grow better, and you want to surround yourself with people that's going to elevate you. When you surround yourself with people that's going to elevate you, you're going to start seeing things around you that's going to begin to change for the better. When you look at what you entertain, that's another thing. If you entertain negativity, you cannot be mad when negativity comes back on you. If you put yourself in situations because you make a choice to entertain it, you can't be mad when it come back on you. And that's what happens a lot. Like a lot of times, in the streets, we entertain things that we shouldn't entertain. And then we end up getting results that we don't want. But it comes from what we surrounded ourselves with and what we entertain. So if you entertain positive things, godly things, then you're going to have them positive influences coming your way, those godly things coming your way, and it's going to build your character up in a different way. I believe in life, we have an option. We can either feed the negative or we can feed the positive. And based on what we do, we're going to get that back to us. We're going to get it attracted back to us, right? And number three, what you ignore. You cannot ignore the red flags of people that you are around. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. A lot of times we turn a blind eye to, certain small things that people do that we're around, but you cannot ignore it because what happens is when you start ignoring those signs and you act like you're oblivious to what a person is doing or saying, then you are just asking to be betrayed. You are asking for, something negative to come out of it because of that. So you have to be mindful and pay attention. And it's not about judging somebody. It's not about being critical to about somebody. It's not about scrutinizing somebody. It's simply about wanting the best for yourself. Because a lot of times in life, we surround ourselves with people that don't want the best for themselves, so they don't want the best for others. And we become friends with them, cool. We try to pour into them, cool, but we ignore all the red flags or all the things that they say and they do, and then we end up in a situation where it's like, how did I get here? And then you start reflecting on, oh man, I remember he or she said this, he or she did this, and then it start to hit you. You ignore them things the whole time, so we got to start paying attention. And when you do this, then you will understand how your environment shapes you, right? One, you become what you are around. Two, the people around you influence your choices. Three, not everyone around you wants to see you grow. And four, if you stay in the wrong environment, you will see the same results. That's just a fact. Like I was just saying, you have to elevate your circle and your surroundings. You're going to become who you are around. So if you are a person that work an honest job and you surround yourself with people that just want to steal all day, then guess what? Sooner or later, you're going to find yourself stealing. And it might not be in the capacity that they steal and they go out and doing stuff. It might be in other ways. It might start off small at your job. It might be stealing from your coworker. It might be stealing from a family or a friend. Like, and that's just one example. We start to become what we are around. And as I said, the people around you influence your choices. I learned this as a man that spent 19 years in prison. And when I reflected a lot of times on a lot of situations, people around you really don't want to do what everybody is planning to do. But nobody wants to be the first one to step up and say, hey, I don't want to do it. It's rare that somebody do. It's rare that somebody will honestly be themselves and then they will, walk away. You have people that's going to be in your ear, that's going to try to influence you in your choices in a negative way because they want to use you as a stunt dummy. Let's just call it what it is. And if you allow this to happen, then what's going to happen is, you're going to find yourself in situations that you don't want to be in. All right. Not everyone around wants to see you grow. Like I just said, not everybody around wants to see you win. Some people are okay with the bare minimum mentality. Some people are okay just living, right? On a day-to-day basis, they really don't care. They don't see any value in themselves. So they don't want you to see value in yourself. They don't want you to win. You could be a person that's nice at basketball and you go on there, you practice hard and you hang around a couple of your friends and they be, oh man, why you over playing basketball? You think you better than us, right? They don't want to see you outgrow them because all they see is themselves stuck in the same environment. And it's so many different examples that you can reflect on and look at. You got to be willing to be uncomfortable at times with growing because not everybody is going to celebrate your success. Not everybody is going to want to see you get to the next level. Not everybody is going to want to see you to do good in life and elevate yourself. But you have to be willing to do it anyway. And if you stay in the wrong environment, you're going to get the same results. So it goes to what I just said. Don't get mad that if you choose to hang around the same people, if you choose to entertain the same things, if you choose to, constantly live in the same environment, doing the same thing, that you get the same results. I know, like, one thing that people used to tell me growing up, you have to constantly change your people, your places, and your things. And that's one of the major things that you have to change. And when I was younger, I didn't realize that how effective it was. But you really have to do that. And like I said, you're going to have friends that you love to death, but you have to distance yourself away from them in certain ways, is because you have to be willing to go for what you're going for. So let's talk about how pressure creates bad decisions. Peer pressure, right? Trying to fit in and trying to prove something. These are three main ingredients that will lead you to the road to prison, all right? Peer pressure is something that we all have faced somewhere along the line as kids. And peer pressure is real. A lot of people get caught up in peer pressure, but it's easier said than done. I get that. But you have to be willing to, stand on your morals and principles of who you are. You have to be willing to let go of your ego, let go of your pride, and stop worrying about validation from other people. You have to worry about how you're going to grow yourself, and don't fall into the traps of what everybody else doing. Don't worry about trying to fit in, like everybody always say. Don't try to fit in, fit out. Right? When people say, "Oh, you stick out like a sore thumb," yeah, you want to stick out. You want to be different than other people. Everybody don't have the same passion that you have. Everybody don't have the same goals that you have. And you're going to have dreams, you're going to have visions of accomplishing great things for yourself, but not everybody is going to support that, right? And you don't want to do it with the mindset that you're trying to prove something to people in the world with making decisions. Oh, I'm like that. Oh, I'm trying to get my reputation up. You don't want to do that. I'm telling you, I've been there, did that, and it led me to 19 years in prison. So just worry about being yourselves, worry about your goals, worry about your dreams, take the positive steps forward one day at a time, and just continue to just go down that path, because everything will work out for you. So what does it really cost, right? Freedom, time, family, opportunities, which is all true. It can cost it can cost you your freedom. It can cost you your time. It can cost you your family. It can cost you opportunities. And I lived through that. I lost my freedom for 19 years. And I tell people this all the time, that when I talk about how I did 19 years, I wasn't sentenced to a sentence that I just had to do 19 years and I came home. I was sentenced to 60 years. And if it wasn't by the grace of God, or using Phil Murphy to grant my clemency as well as some others, I would still be in prison. So you can find yourself in that type of situation. There's plenty of guys I still talk to that I left behind that are in prison that may never come home. So the choices we make can cost us our freedom forever. forever. Like if you watch my social media pages of these posts that people got times to 2196, 2100, 2080. Like think about this, 2026. Think about that time. When I got sentenced in 2008, they told me I wasn't coming home until 2051. Think about that. That is crazy. And your freedom is connected to the time because you're losing time of being out in the free world, being productive, being able to do things, and you're not going to get that time back. The 19 years I just spent in prison, I'm not getting back ever. I'm not getting it back ever. Family, right? And family can be immediate family. It could be your spouse. It could be your kids. It could be your bros or your sis that's really good people that wanted to see you right that's been doing the right thing. Like it costs you that too because people is going to die while you're in prison, whether you like that or not. Right? The world is going to continue to evolve. Time don't stop for nobody. You're going to lose friendships. You're going to lose family members. You're going to have people that don't like you because of you being in prison. Right? You can lose so much, and your families and your loved ones are during that time with you when you are in prison. And opportunities, when you're in there, you lose on so many opportunities. Like, I was good at playing ball. I had an opportunity to go to college, but I lost it. It cost me because I was in prison. And that's just me. I had got certified in Microsoft and graphic designs before I went to prison. I could have got a job at Microsoft. It cost me being in prison. So it's so many different things that it costs you, and these are just a few things that I named that I want you to get. So let's talk about how a decision that changed my life, the choice that cost me years, the moment everything changed. So I got into a situation when I was 19 years old. And unfortunately, somebody got shot. Unfortunately, somebody died. Yes, I defended myself, but I didn't said this since day one. I look at it from both sides. From my side, I look at it and say I had to defend myself or it would have been me, right? But then I'll also look at it from the other side that, you know, a family lost someone. A family lost someone, right? Whether it's their son, whether it's their brother, whether it's their cousin, whether it's their friend, they still lost someone. And it it's it sucks. It sucks for everybody involved. It sucks for the family that lost somebody because they're always going to harbor, those emotions towards losing a loved one, regardless of what the situation was. And then on my side, you know, I did the 19 years. And no matter what, looking at it like, okay, I defended myself, but if I can go back and change that, then I would. Because one, I wouldn't want somebody just to lose their life. And two, I didn't want to spend 19 years in prison. And at the same time, that choice that cost me years to spend 19 years in prison is also the moment that changed everything. I say this because once I got arrested and I'm looking at this time, and of course I wanted to go home. I'm a young kid, I'm 19. But it also changed everything in perspective. And I said, oh, I really gotta get it together. And the thoughts didn't come all at once. The action didn't come all at once. Like, don't get me wrong, I would say this first 6, 7 years, I was angry. I was I was angry at a bunch of people that was involved in my situation for how it played out. But then around the 6, 7, maybe 8 year mark in, I started changing my perspective on that. And I really had to do a self-reflection. I really had to do, a spiritual cleanse of myself. I really had to do some soul searching. And I had to ask myself one day, do I want to be the same person that can be in this revolving door of coming back to prison, in and out of prison, or I can make the necessary changes I need to make right now so I can do better in life and then I can be productive for people in the future. Not worth it, right? You want to break the illusion. What you gain in a moment can cost you years, and freedom is too valuable to risk, right? I want y'all to understand this. Please break the illusion of thinking that getting your reputation up in the streets is what it's all about. Going viral or being a man, trust me, it's not. Because outside of people that have good characters, most of them people that say they are your friends will not be anywhere to be found once you end up in prison for a long period of time. It's rare that you will have people that will stick by your side through 20 years, 25 years, 30 years or more. So don't be fooled by thinking that you trying to be the man is going to get you all the clout, because it's not. And understand that those decisions that you make in that moment, yeah, everybody's screaming your name, but trust me, after a couple of years being in prison, it stops, right? Because them same people that you do things and they cheering you on, oh man, you the guy. But once you get bagged and you get sentenced to 100 years in prison, they're gonna be the same ones saying, "Oh man, yo, he was stupid, she was stupid," right? And even if you only get that amount of time, just being in prison, period, you're gonna have people that's gonna say, "Oh man, that person was stupid for doing that." So understand that your freedom is too valuable to risk, right? I did 19 years and I used to have conversations with people throughout the 19 years of being in prison. And I used to ask people, I used to be like, well, if this happened when you got home, how would you respond? And they were legit situations. And I'm not saying that you can't be a man or a woman or stand for who you are in life. However, your freedom is too valuable to risk. A lot of times, the situations we get ourselves involved in life, whether you're a kid, whether you're an adult, the risk is definitely not worth the reward. And we find ourselves in situations where it could have been handled differently, but then we find ourselves going down a path that ended up in prison. So it's not worth it. As I tell people since I've been home, please do not allow people to trick you out of your spot, because people will do that. See, the thing I learned, and this is one of the things I learned, you have people that may be intimidated by you. They may fear you for whatever reason because you're in the streets, right? And them same people will murmur, but some people they'd rather to see you in prison. They don't want to really do nothing to you. They just want to see you in prison. They want you out the way. So don't try to be the person that want to be, spoken about as a legend in the hood and worried about street cred when it can cost you everything. Trust me. All that street cred, reputation, all that is not worth it. You can choose different. Think before you act. Move different. Choose your future, not the moment. Think before you act. We all have a 3-second window before we make that decision. So in them 3 seconds, you got to train yourself to make the better decision. You have to think before you act. You got to be able to think on your feet. You got to be able to realize and see what's going to happen down along from the choice that you make right now in this second. You have to think about if you are in the streets and saying, hey, I got beef with this person. If I go try to whack this person, then I can go spend the rest of my life in prison. If you're hungry, you don't got no food, and you say, hey, man, I'm about to go rob this person, you can spend the rest of your life in prison. Or you can spend a good amount of time, because not everybody gets life in prison. But you don't want to go to prison. So think before you act. Think about the choices that you could potentially make. You don't want to make the mistakes. You want to make better choices in your life. Please, right? And you want to move different. Moving different comes from thinking differently, but it also comes from surrounding yourself with better people. And it comes from distancing yourself from people that's going to cause the wrong things. You're going to want to move different in a way that you're not advertising everything that you're doing or every place that you've been. You're not, going down the same destructive paths. You are surrounding yourself with people that's going to help you elevate. You are doing things that's going to empower you and that's going to empower every person around you. You want to move different and choose your future, not the moment. Think about long term. Don't think about this moment right now. If you go make a choice right now because you're thinking about the moment, you're going to jeopardize your future. You want to think about your future. You don't want to jeopardize that. You want to think about all the things that you want to accomplish. So, right now, in the moment, you're going to make the actions, you're going to make the choices and have actions accordingly that's going to help you get to that future that you want to get to. So your life, your choices. It's simple. Accountability equals power. No excuses, just better decisions. You control your next move. Accountability equals power. And that is true because when you take ownership of knowing you have a mind to think the right way and to discipline yourself to make better choices, then that accountability equals power. You will have the power to be able to do whatever you want to do as long as you discipline yourself because you're holding yourself accountable knowing that if you make this bad decision then you know the results that you're potentially going to get. But you know, if you make this right decision, then you can say, okay, as long as I keep making these right decisions, I'm going to get this result. So that's the power. You're going to be able to do the right things. And also, what you got to understand too is, like I said, when you are in situations and you are doing better, you are creating a lane for other people because there's other people that's always going to be looking at you and watching you and saying, oh man, yo, I seen him doing that. I seen her doing that. So it could propel them to do that. And you want to be an encouragement to other people. No excuses, just better decisions. Let's cut out all the excuses. Let's stop blaming everybody else for our actions. Let's stop blaming everybody else for the things that we say, the things that we do. We have to stop blaming our situations and circumstances for our decisions, right? I was one of the ones growing up and saying, oh man, life was hard. And it was. But then I realized as I went through prison, that's just an excuse. And I say that because the same way how we grow up in the hood and some of us end up in prison is the same way how you get some people that grow up in the hood and they become, you know, celebrities, actors, actresses, sports players, or whatever you want to name it, artists. They become successful. And even if it's not even on that level, even if they just have a well paying job, they're established, they're making good money, they have a family, they live in a nice environment, right? 9 to 5 job. They came from the same environment. They just chose to make, they just made a choice to make better decisions. So we got to stop making excuses and saying, oh man, I grew up in the hood. It's rough. Yeah, it's rough for everybody, but it's people that made it out. To look at them as an example, as an example. We just got to make better decisions in ourselves. And you control your next move. It's as simple as that. Your next move, you control it. You can sit back and say, okay, I'm about to do this. You control that. You can either make it something positive or make it something negative. So make it positive and keep going down a positive path. Keep going down the right direction. All right, so where do you want to be? Right? Paint a vision. Who do you want to become? And what are you willing to do to get there? When I was in prison for the 19 years, I used to paint a vision. Part of my vision was what I'm doing right now. I used to sit there and visualize sitting in that cell, laying on the bed, looking up at the ceiling, and I used to visualize speaking to millions of people, right? In the arena, in a stadium, wherever the case may be, speaking to millions of people, some for motivational speaking, some for youth mentorship. So I used to envision this on a daily basis, right? Because it went along with who do I want to become? I want to become a person that is being impactful and giving back and not being part of the problem. I spent enough years prior to prison being a part of the problem. So I want to be part of the solution. And I made that dedication, I made that promise to myself. So what are you willing to get there? So what I started doing was I started disciplining myself when I was in prison. That's what I started doing. I started disciplining myself when I was in prison. I started to, separate myself from certain people. I started to, you know, read what I need to read as far as knowledge so I can absorb it and then I can apply it, right? I started to, you know, visualizing visualizing things beyond which is normal. I used to have conversation with guys I'm cool with, and some people that used to just be in a conversation, and I just say something that some people are like, oh man, that's crazy. I remember before I got released, 10 years before I got released, I actually told somebody one day, 'cause I used to speak this into existence. I used to say, yeah, I'm going home. And somebody would be like, yo, when you go home? I'd be like, man, any day. About to walk out of these doors any day. And somebody told me one day, one of my good guys. And back then, I understood it. We was in a different type of situation. And he was like, "Yeah, you think they really just gonna let you walk out of these doors?" And I'm like, "Yeah, right." This is like 10 plus years before I even knew clemency was going to exist. But I was making sure that I was changing along the line every step of the way, right? So by the time it came down to clemency, they've seen my rehabilitation. And guess what? I walked right out of them doors, the same ones that I was told I couldn't. So, what are you willing to do to get there? How much are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice your friendships? Are you willing to distance yourself from people? Are you willing to put in the hours, the time, the day to really dive into who you want to be? You have to be willing to do it. Because if you're not willing to do it, then you can't complain. You can't complain that you're stuck in the same situation. So I'm willing to stay up late to create programs and get up early in the morning to go over it. I'm willing to reach out and go to different places to speak. I'm willing to discipline myself knowing that I can't be around certain people. I'm willing to forego so many different things because that vision that I painted while I was in prison, that person I know I wanted to become while I was in prison, I'm doing everything to make sure that that vision is fulfilled and that I become that person that I envisioned that I was going to be. Don't let one decision define you. One, you still have control. Two, one mistake doesn't define your future. And three, you can still change your direction. I want you to understand this. And I'm telling you this from experience. You still have control. Just how we've made decisions that caused us pain at times, you still have control of your life. Even if you are a person that's in prison or know somebody that's in prison, you still have control of your life. You still have control of every decision that you want to make. You still have it. You just have to be willing to go for it. You have to be willing to discipline yourself to say, this is what I want to do. But you still have control. You can change at any second in your life, right? Because the mistake that you have made, or even if you made multiple mistakes, it doesn't define your future, right? The thing that I learned is when we go through pain, that is just us being shaped, molded, and grown by God to prepare us for where He's about to take us. God is going to take you somewhere, but sometimes the mistakes, it calls us to detour off of the path that He had for us. So when we go through that pain, no matter where you at, no matter where you at in life, that mistake don't define you. That mistake is only going to become a part of your testimony. So now you will be able to share your testimony with other people because you have lived experience in certain areas. So now you can help other people navigate it. And that's the beauty about this. I spent 19 years in prison. I was blessed to have 41 years commuted off my sentence. So this is why I'm here. So my lived experience, I'm able to share this with other people, and then I'm able to impact them. And even if I just save one person, I feel good about that. Because guess what? Somewhere along the line, that one person is going to save one person. And that thing is going to trickle. It's going to trickle down. It's going to continue to go. And it might not happen overnight, but my mistake that I made definitely don't define my future or where I'm going. It definitely don't, and it never will. So understand that and understand, like I said, you can still change your direction. You still can change your life and make a complete 180 right now. And if you don't know what a 180 is, if you are standing one way, you are basically just turning around and facing the other way. That's a 180. You literally can change your direction right now. So if you are somebody that's still in the streets, you can change your direction right now. If you are somebody that's in prison and you've been going back and forth, you can change your direction right now. If you are somebody that's sitting in prison thinking that you may never get out, so you just sitting there and not caring, you can change your direction right now. And the reason why you can do that is because I myself, as well as others that I have seen come home from prison and know personally, we're living testimonies of it. We're living testimonies of it. So it's never too late to change your direction. You gotta want it though. You have to want it, right? Thing about life, you have to want it. So if you want to change it, you have to be able to get through that pain. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have adversity. You're going to have obstacles, but you have to be willing to change. So if you are feeling stuck, just don't let whatever you're going through define you. You can get through it. It ain't always easy, but you can get through it. So we at the end, right? And I created Saving Souls just for what it is. Saving souls, man. It's one at a time. That's my motto, right? Your change starts right now. It starts right now. You can change right now. And it's not just about me because you can take what I'm sharing with you, you can get it from other people as well. But I promise you, you don't wanna Go through that experience. You don't want to be sitting there knowing that your release date is 50, 60 years from down the line. You got that feeling over your head that you may never come home. You don't want to go through that. And I'm trying to encourage you and show you how not to go through that, right? Saving souls, this is for real stories. It's real consequences when we make real decisions, right? And it's real change if you choose to discipline yourself. So, listen, follow me, follow everything I'm doing on Saving Souls. All of my social media handles are the same. It's Shaw John 1222. That's SHAWJOHN 1222. That's for Instagram. That's for YouTube. That's for TikTok. All of my pages got the same handle, and my full name is going to pop up, Shawn Robert Johnson. You will see all my pages connected, right? And you will see Saving Souls everywhere. And this is what it's all about. I appreciate everybody that listen, and thank you, and have